Emily Roberts from PF for PhDs, and this is How to Manage Irregular Expenses with Targeted Savings. If you've been keeping a budget for more than a few months, you've almost certainly already encountered the problem of irregular expenses.
In fact, you probably started grad school off with a whole slew of irregular expenses, such as moving expenses, security deposits, stocking your pantry, textbooks, and university fees.
Irregular expenses are expenses that occur once or a few times per year. I call them budget busters because they can really mess up an otherwise well-conceived budget. The really problematic irregular expenses are those that are large relative to the available cash flow in your budget.
Perhaps you've set up your budget to have some unallocated cash flow each month, $100, $500, whatever it may be. What do you do when a $1,000 irregular expense pops up, or three $300 expenses?
If you're like me, early on, I scrambled. I minimized the irregular expense as much as possible, I cut back everywhere I could in my regular budget, and I used a credit card to float the balance into next month's budget. But that makes for a really unpleasant couple of months because guess what gets cut out to make room for the irregular expense? All the fun, discretionary expenses in your life.
During grad school, my husband and I had one really tough summer of irregular expenses that pushed us to find a robust solution. We had an unusually busy wedding season and had to turn down attending 2 out-of-town weddings because we couldn't pay for the travel, which we really hated to do. Then, when the school year started up, we bought our 2 yearly parking permits. Finally, we committed to 2 sets of season tickets, one to our university's men's basketball games and one to the Broadway musical series at our local theater. When we got through paying for the season tickets, we were completely spent, literally and figuratively. We did not want to go through another period being super stressed about where we were going to find the money to pay for these large, irregular expenses. That's when we hit upon the targeted savings solution.
With targeted savings, also known as sinking funds, you anticipate your irregular expenses and save for them in advance over the course of months or a year. It's a proactive system rather than a reactive system. You turn your large, irregular expenses into small, fixed expenses that you can more easily write into your budget.
Each category of irregular expense becomes its own targeted savings bucket. Every month, you save a small, fixed amount of money into the targeted savings bucket. Then, whenever an irregular expense occurs that falls into that category, you pull from the targeted savings bucket the money you need to pay for it. For me and my husband, those initial targeted savings buckets were travel for the wedding-related travel, cars for the parking permits, and entertainment for the season tickets.
One of the main benefits of targeted savings is that you budget over the course of a year rather than just a month. Grad student stipends and postdoc salaries are limited resources. When you project all the expenses you might incur over the course of a year, you can, with forethought, weigh them against each other and your regular monthly expenses.
While targeted savings is a bit more work than flying by the seat of your pants, it takes the stress out of managing your money. Your budget is less likely to be busted. You don't have to scramble to pay for expenses in the month they occur. And you won't regret your spending in the past when a preferable irregular expense pops up.
Your homework in this module is to identify the irregular expenses that have busted your budget in the past or threaten to do so in the future.
Match each irregular expense with the targeted savings category that it falls into. I've provided a list of common types of irregular expenses. For example, for the targeted savings category of car expenses, you might list the specific irregular expenses of semi-annual insurance premiums, annual registration, annual property tax, average maintenance and repair costs, and a parking permit.